All right, you're hired.
You get the job.
Apropos of today's theme. Welcome to the Drummers Education Connection, everybody. We're here once again, as we are every Tuesday morning, almost every Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific time. My name's Jeremy Steinkohler. I'm a drummer. I'm a teacher. So are these guys, Bart Robley, Rick Stojak, Chip Ritter. Great guys, really, really smart, really, really good drummers, really great teachers. And we're here to share all of our knowledge and wisdom and experience with you and ask questions. And we love to hear your feedback. And this is a really great episode. There's going to be lots of feedback, I think, on this one. And but before we get started, we're going to mention that we have our Patreon page, and Chip's going to put the link in the comments there. And if you like what we do and you support the Drummers Education Connection, please consider becoming a Patreon donor. Even just like $2 a month helps us do what we do. And there's all sorts of cool free stuff you get if you donate even just a little bit amount. We like to start our show with a little segment we call Good Things. So we'll do that. And then we're going to get into a discussion about when is overplaying too much. And I'm just going to cut to the chase and say always. And now we're done. See you guys.
Thanks for the show. Thanks for joining us.
See you later.
All right. Good things. Chip, what's happening with you, bud?
Hey, you know what? The good thing for me was a Las Vegas trip I took last week. I had a great time. I'm sorry I couldn't make the show, but I was at the Venetian watching Ringo Starr's All-Star Band.
Ooh, cool.
And then we went to the Sphere. And then we went to the Blue Man Group. And then we went to see Cirque du Soleil for the Beatles Love Show before it closes.
Awesome.
And all the shows were awesome. I had a great time. There was amazing drumming, and it was just a great trip, man. I'm now trying to assimilate to life back on Earth. You know what I mean? We got picked up in this Tesla X model with the gull wing doors, and just stayed in a king luxury suite. It was just an awesome trip.
Well, that's cool.
That's
Oh,
my good thing.
And thanks for sharing, because I know technically you're not supposed to say anything about what happens in Vegas. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Rick,
How about you, Bart?
Yeah, or Bart.
Me? Oh, yeah. Life is good, man. Life is good. I actually had a weekend off. It was real nice. We played Friday night, but had a 3-day weekend, just kind of chilled out, did some work around the house here. And one of the things I did was worked on my drum set, getting ready to go. So I had to spruce up a few things and fix a few things, but that was nice. And I just kind of hung out with Leah and had a little bit of downtime. So that was very, very, very nice. And currently working on a new album with my side project, The Ruins. Did a little bit of mixing on that this morning. Got some strings in for that, and looking forward to some shows with that, and also working on my new book. So there we go. Working on a lot of projects going on. I'm gonna drop it straight down to San Diego. Rick, how are you?
I am fantastic. It's great to see you guys. I just got back from a near 2-week visit to Florida to relocate my mom on May 1st. My brother gets an email. He's the executor. My mom is 97 years old, and
Wow.
He lives in Connecticut. Of course, I'm in San Diego. My mom's in Florida. He gets an email that she has 45 days to vacate her assisted living facility.
Wow.
Closing the facility up. So we had to spring in action, and we were able to, in 14 days, move her, and we found a place so much better than she was at before.
Oh wow, that's good.
It's a miracle, man. And she always right away she said, let's take some lemons and make lemonade out of this, and it sure did work out. The uncertainty was the worst part.
I bet.
What's it going to be like, worrying about it and all. And man, she ended up in a place that's just so much better, and she's sharp as could be. She's got her keyboard, and for the same cost, she's at a place that's right on a river with dolphins jumping around and pelicans flying around. And I saw a manatee from her window. So miracles do happen, folks.
Well, Rick, it's shocking to hear that your mom is so positive and has such a good outlook and is making lemonade out of lemons, because
it's a little weird, isn't it?
You know what they say, right? The lemon doesn't fall far from the tree.
The lemon. Sorry, I had to.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh my God,
it's in the blood, man. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Hey, Fred Fisher's watching. What's up, Fred? Thanks for
Hey, Fred.
tuning in.
Fred
Thanks for
Rock
being
in Idaho.
Check out Coffee with Fred, folks. Check out his podcast.
Yeah, I was watching that this morning, man.
It's kind
Fred's
of
always awesome.
like Drummers Education Connection, but just with one person.
Yeah,
It's
and
cool.
he does so well.
Right.
Yeah.
Coffee with Fred, Tuesdays at 7 a.m.
I wonder what kind of coffee Fred drinks.
We'll
I
find
don't
out.
I wonder, does he? I wonder if he drinks that 3-peckered Billy Goat stuff.
You got
that
to
you
tune in
drink.
to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to tune in.
Well, I'm going to jump in and tell you that
Yes.
I had 3 great gigs last week, and I'm just feeling grateful for all the people I play with and the bands I play with. Really fun. And I just booked a show with my son, Evan. We're going to play a trio show right before he goes to college in September. So super excited about that. And his high school graduation is next Wednesday. So that's a big, big deal for us. Really excited.
And I
Nice.
tell you what, man, Evan is an amazing piano player. I don't mean to jump on your thing, Jeremy, but what a great kid. What a great
Yeah,
player.
I don't know what he's supposed to learn in college.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Someone said he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get my degree in jazz piano and engineering. And they're like, you already know how to play jazz piano.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks guys. So today's episode, Overplaying, when is it too much? Always. Oh, sorry, that's not part of the title. We're here to talk about overplaying and what that looks like. That's playing over. That's
sorry. I just thought it would be best to make some nonsensical noise.
Right. Well, we have some nonsensical noise that we're going to play for you in a little bit. Rick was on vacation or visiting his mom, and he went out and heard some music and caught this band. Yeah, and they were playing some rock and roll covers, and this drummer was just going to town. And Rick surreptitiously recorded it. We're going to change the names to protect the innocent, or to protect the guilty, I should say.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll play that for you a little bit later. But this is something that I when Rick posted about this, the topic of this episode, he had a whole bunch of people chime in, and they weren't all on the same side of the fence on this. So it'll be a really interesting topic to discuss. And there's, in my opinion, there's people who are right and there's people who are wrong. But I know that other people's opinions may be different from mine, and they're wrong.
And so they're wrong.
They're wrong, exactly.
Yes.
So let's start with, like, have you guys ever seen drummers who you thought this drummer's playing way too much?
Yes.
Story. So Bart, go ahead.
Yes. I had, I'll give a small example here, and it kind of goes along with what happened to Rick. I want to start by saying I think you definitely can overplay, and I'm gonna go here. As you guys know, I play at the Sam Morrison Band, and one of the shows that we do is a Bob Seger tribute band, or a tribute show. It's called Turn the Page, and we got signed, believe it or not, to a record deal with Titan Tribute Media in 2007. And our job was to go in and recreate all of these parts exactly note perfect. And so we went in and re-recorded 4 albums of Bob Seger's music to be re-released for commercial use, and painstakingly went through and literally transcribed every song. No matter how simple they were, there might be a note in there that just, was captured, and we had to play it. And so we did these note perfect, right? And I get on my soapbox a bit about it, because the way I always look at it, especially now, is these songs are legendary songs, a lot of them. And it's really easy as drummers to go, and a lot of people point to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, go, well, if I would have been the drummer for the Beatles, I would have done so much better. And I think that's so egotistical, because you're going to do better than, like, Ringo, who was part of the Beatles that literally shaped music and rock and roll, really, just because he played for the song. And so I think my opinion is play the part the way that it's written. Play the part because it's right for the song. It's what's right for the song.
Well, wait, Bart, is it possible that there are recordings that you hear where you're like, I don't like the original drum track on the song. I would do it differently.
Oh yeah, I definitely think there are parts like that. There's a lot of parts where, I mean, I can't speak for you guys, but I know there's probably songs where you heard them and you go, well, God, why didn't he do this? Or why wasn't this in there? But at the same time, and a lot of drummers that will get the opportunity to work with a producer will tell you that, you know, when you go in with a good producer, they're the first person that gets their head on the chopping block is the drummer, and they're going to cut everything out. They're going to be like, you know, we need less of this, less of this. You're building a template for the rest of the band to play on. So here's one of the tracks that we did. I want to play a little something for you here. This is, if you guys don't recognize this song, then you haven't ever listened to music. This is shameless plug on my DVD, School of Hard Rocks. It goes along with my book. I won a Telly Award for this, and it's got transcription for this song for some, but it wants to learn how to read, and also drums, song minus drums, which I'm going to play along with just a little bit here. So I'll go to the one with the click.
Just take those old records off the shelf. I'll sit and listen to them by myself. These music ain't got the same soul. I love that old time rock and roll. Don't try and take me to a disco.
That's what the song has, and that's what the song calls for. It's a 4 on the floor, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. When you play a 4 on the floor, don't flam on 2 and 4 between the snare drum and the bass drum, right? Don't go 1, 2. Give me 1, 2, 3, 4. Works perfect. One of the greatest. Every wedding, every thing you go to that's celebratory, this song will play. So we're playing one night at this club, and it was a club gig. It wasn't a casino or in a club. And this guy comes up to me and goes, man, I'm a drummer, and there's a girl at the bar, and I'm trying to impress her. Could I sit in and play with the band? And yeah, exactly. So I'm like, yeah, sure. If Sam says it's cool, you can do it. He goes, can I play old time rock and roll? I'm like, yeah, sure. So Sam goes, okay, it's a bar gig, so we're playing 4 sets. So at the end of the 4th set, guy comes up, and this is sort of kind of what we got.
Here it comes.
Just take those old records off the shelf.
Started out wrong, but okay.
These music ain't got the same soul. I love that old time rock and roll. Don't try and take me to a disco. You never.
He's going speeding up and double bass and the whole song, and the band's going, whoa, what happened to the group, right? That's kind of what happened, and you know, took off to the races and and it just, the song was a train wreck, and he made it through the song, and
but he didn't get laid.
He did not get laid. Well, maybe he did. I don't know.
Right,
maybe she was a Tommy Aldridge fan. As am I, but that's another story. Anyway, so I think playing for the song, you got to play what the song calls for, right? And again, old time rock and roll. Really simple song to play. It's I mean, like, it's one of the first songs I teach to all my young students, right? Young kids, they love it. It's so easy to play. And as you get more advanced, it's really easy to go, well, that's boring. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's not the most exciting drum part, but fits the song.
So I got something to jump in with there, which is, you know, you say, and I 100% agree with this. I think we all do. Every drummer we've had on the show agrees with this. You got to play for the song. But isn't that a somewhat subjective thing? Like,
it is.
Right. So Rick and I could listen to the same song.
Yep.
And you could ask us if we were in 2 separate studios where we weren't able to, you know, hear each other. And, you know, you play the song for me, you play the song for Rick. You say, play what you think the song is asking for. We're going to play 2 different things. Right. For sure. I mean, if you got 5 of the best drummers in the world and sat them down and did that experiment, they would all play something a little bit different.
Yep.
Agree?
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
I
But
saw.
we're also talking about legendary songs. You're recreating a part. You're recreating a part.
Okay, you're talking about covers, which is a little bit different scenario. I'm just talking about like playing what the song wants, regardless of, there being an original earlier recording.
Correct.
Yes.
Because remember, all those drummers that we're emulating when we're covering those covers, they made those parts up.
Yes.
Right. And had it been a different drummer on a different day, the part might have been a little different. And
right.
You might feel like, oh, this part fits so perfectly, but it's a little bit different than what so-and-so would have done.
Correct.
So there is some subjectivity in it, but I would assert that even though those 5 drummers would come up with something a little bit different, they would all bring very similar qualities to the part.
Right. I think too, along with that, I think there's, with age and time and experience, there's musical sensibilities that work themselves in.
Exactly.
And I'll give you another example, again, self-serving, and I don't mean to just talk about my stuff, but my side project, The Ruins. Okay, we did a re-record of Billy Joel's Big Shot. And my good friend Dusty Watson, who's been on the show, he's in Nashville Pussy now. He was played with Lita Ford. He's played with so many great bands, Dick Dale for 20 some years. I said, hey, I want to have Dusty cut the drums on this. And he cut it. And it was perfect, man. He just nailed it to the wall. And the guitar player that I work with listened to it. He goes, that's not you playing. I go, it's my buddy Dusty. He goes, that's exactly what I could imagine you playing. That's what you would have played. And I'm not breaking my arm, patting myself on the back. What I'm saying is that there is that musical sensibility that we all have. Maybe he would have played a fill different, or I would have played a fill different. But I think if we were all given that song, wouldn't we all sort of play in the same vein, I would think?
Well, that's my point. It's like we would play in the same vein, but we would the details would be different, right? The bass drum, kick drum pattern might be different. A bass drum modes are there, right?
Right.
And the more complex the song gets, the more different our parts might be.
Correct.
But they'd all, because of those evolved musical sensibilities, we've listened to so much music. We've played so many different kinds of tunes with so many different bands. We have a wealth of knowledge to draw from to sort of make it sound the way we imagine the song is wanting to sound or supposed to sound.
Right.
And that's
I'm sorry.
And that's different when you come into the thing without that acumen, without that experience, without all those touchstones. And you've got even if you've got a big vocabulary of beats because you've gone through all the books or whatever, that doesn't make you good at making choices, right? That just gives you choices to make. And I think that's a really big piece of the puzzle that people don't appreciate as much as like, and this is part of why guys like Steve Gadd and J.R. Robinson are like first call dudes because their instincts are so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chip. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say back in the breast cancer can stick it drumathon, I was hired to play Africa by Toto and to do my juggling thing, and the juggling thing works really good with a nice backbeat. And I was by myself on the drum set playing to the track of the song with no drums. And so I played the song. I chose to play it with a backbeat on the snare on 2 and 4. And so I played the whole thing. I posted the video on Facebook, months later. And then I got some comments about Jeff Porcaro must be rolling over in his grave. Mm. Oh my God. Because I played a backbeat. I didn't play this specific doom, do-doom, do-doom all the way through. And I saw Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band play this last weekend, and they played Africa, and they played a backbeat the whole way through. And I was like, I felt a little bit justified. I was like, all right, well, Ringo thinks that works for that song. Well, each song has a specific energy. There's a vibe to each song, and drummers kind of, you kind of know where that's going to go. And what we're not talking about, the example that we're going to play a little later, we're not talking about a hardcore metal song. We're talking about a ballad, like a heavy rock ballad that drones on. You know what I mean? That's a lurching feel to it, and the person playing is just, I think, way too much. My opinion.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely think that that it's a subjective thing.
Yes.
And I think, and you're going to hear each drummer maybe approach things a little differently than one another. Some busier, some not as busy. I think the key is to kind of be interactive with the music. You know,
Right.
you could be busy and complement the song, maybe add a little bling to the song, and kind of like showboat just a little bit if it makes sense with the music. And I think perhaps that's an answer that we could all consider when we're weighing this.
Well, for me, a lot of it comes down to what's your motivation and your
Right.
intention when you're playing. If your
Right.
motivation
Yes.
and your intention is to like play the most complicated part you can because you want to sound impressive,
Right.
or be admired or whatever that trip is, then you're not playing for the song, you're playing for your ego, right?
Well, just like I showed a minute ago with the guy playing old time rock and roll. He was playing for the chick at the bar.
girl,
He wasn't
right,
playing for the song,
right,
you know.
right.
And also I would go one step further and say that in a small way, we're talking about a couple different things here, because we like we're talking about in a situation where we're playing a song that is, Jeremy, you're kind of thinking, okay, we each get a song and each one of us goes in and records it. It is going to be a little bit different. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I said, well, okay, we're talking about cover tunes and they're legendary cover tunes. Let's play the parts right. Since we're talking about kind of sort of two different things, let me throw this out at you. Okay. And we've thrown a bunch of bands out here. I'm going to say, you're going to get an audition for Aerosmith because Joey Kramer can't make the gig, but they know that you're a drummer and there's four of us. They're going to audition the four of us for Aerosmith, and you're going to play whatever song. They give you the song that you have to play for them. What are you going to play?
Note for note off the record.
Yep. Chip, what are you going to do?
Note for note.
Rick.
If it's an audition for a gig, I'm going to go note for note. When
but
I'm at the gig. When I'm at the gig and the rest of the band is playing a little bit different, I'll probably let myself loose a little.
Yep. Rick, what about you?
Note for note.
Yep.
But if I'm feeling it, I might throw one little something in.
I watched there's a great
feeling, because I don't know that the band wants it note for note.
Well,
they might want a little bling. And
there was
I think what we always have to consider with all of this too is if we're overplaying, is it just ego? Or my observation as a player and from an audience is that audiences love drummers who go off.
Yep.
They love it. And that's in the bit that I'm going to play, you're going to hear that from this band that I saw. This audience loved this band and drummer. My brother didn't understand that I didn't love him.
There's a great video series on YouTube when Mike Mangini got the gig for Dream Theater, and they auditioned like the greatest drummers in the world to get the gig for Dream Theater when Mike Portnoy left.
Right.
And some of the guys were coming in and we're talking the greatest drummers in the world, and they either couldn't pull off the parts or they came in and they put their own spin on it. And the very first ones that got cut were the ones that put their own spin on it, because they're like, look, our audience came in and they expect certain things. They expect that drum fill where it's supposed to be. They expect this feel. And to me, and again, I'll go back to what people say when I hear people talk about smack about Ringo or Charlie Watts. I'm like, you just don't get it. I mean, Ringo played the best parts for those songs. They were absolutely the best parts for those songs, as did Charlie Watts. You have to, I think the second that I sit in and go, well, you know what, maybe the band, I'm trying to get inside somebody's head. Well, maybe the bass player didn't like that drum fill. You know what? Maybe he didn't. I'm still going to play it at the audition because that's what they're used to. And if I get the gig, then if they say to me, you know what, do what you want. Let's take a look at Todd Zuckerman. What Todd Zuckerman's doing with Styx and what were originally recorded on those records are two cavernous different things, But when he went into the audition, he played the parts.
Yeah. Well, Bart, you're asking a very specific question, which is
right. No, I am.
You're jumping into a band that's already been, it's well known. The songs are well known. The parts are expected, and you're filling literally in the shoes of somebody else. And,
Correct.
They want it, first do no harm, right? Like they want you to jump in there and like make the music sound like the music's supposed to sound, like they've been playing it for the last 25 years, right? They don't want different drum tones. They don't want, interesting, stuff. This is my take. I mean, you can always ask Rick, you can always say, do you want to, but that's my assumption. And I think that's the correct one in that scenario. But, you can go audition for an original rock band and, band's putting something together. They send you some tracks of demos, and maybe there's a drum machine on it, or, their friend played drums who doesn't really drummer. Like, that's up to you to do your own thing with it. And you can say, hey, here's my approach. Here's how I'd make what I would do on this song.
Right.
That's different from jumping into an existing band with well-known recordings.
Correct.
It's all about the situation. There's songs that have signature drum parts in them that really, I like, again, Ringo Starr's band, the Men at Work leader, started playing that song, "Who Can It Be Knocking at My Door?" And that whole cha-cha-cha. Ringo and Greg totally did that every time, and it's like a signature part. You recognize the song for it.
Right.
You have to be there, Chip, what you're talking about. Right on. Like, it's the audience expects it.
Yeah.
In those, it's all situational, but that situation,
But let me throw this out. Like, I have students, who they participate in Bandworks, and maybe they have some charts for the tunes. Bandworks is the rock and roll school that I run, and they're trying to get these parts, and maybe they're not being able to play it note for note, or even if they can, it doesn't have the right feel. And I say to them, like, hey, it doesn't matter so much that you do it exactly note for note, as much as that the music feels good and sounds good, because you can play a part that you're comfortable with.
Right.
It's not a lot better than trying to play the part as it is on the record note for note, right? And which one is doing a better service to the band? Well, a part
well said. Good point.
Comfortable playing, as opposed to reaching for something that's not quite as good. Now, on a professional level, it's a different story, let's say. But I think people get really hung up sometimes on, I get students coming in like getting really hung up on every little bass drum variation that happens in a song, and I'm like, hey, the drummer played it differently every time through the verse. There's no iconic part. There's no set piece. It's a little bit one of those loose, here's the theme of the part, and then you can throw it in with variations. If they can do it on the original recording, and I guarantee you every time they play it live, it's different.
Yeah.
Guess what?
I think that a lot of, and this is trying to second guess stuff and probably another subject matter, but I think that a lot of older recordings, especially in the 60s and 70s, with certain bands and artists, they were jam sessions that got caught.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wow, this is a good take. Let's use this. Right. And then all these years later, you go in and you analyze it, and oh, well, okay, we're talking about Ringo, Ticket to Ride. Okay,
you got to play the.
But halfway through on the third verse,
it changes.
He changes the groove, right? So if I was, betting on the dice in Vegas, I would say, yeah, he blew it. He made a mistake, and nobody will ever notice. It's a great take. The time was great. Let's use that one. Well, here we are years later talking about it on Drummers Education Connection. You know what I mean? So, an opinion. I don't know that, but
I was once with a reggae band, and my first night with them, I boned up on the material, and I studied and overthought everything. I studied Bob Marley's, the songs that we're going to play, some of the Bob Marley stuff, and I got the drum parts exactly note for note. And here we come to one of the songs that we started playing it. I was playing it note for note, and both the bass player and the percussionist were looking at me like, "What are you doing? What, have you ever heard this song?" And it turns out that this band has been playing these tunes for so long that they've morphed into different entities.
Wow.
They were playing a different style than what was on the recording. And we had these heated debates about it. Like, cause I wanted to play it like the record and then let it breathe from there. And they were looking at a totally different feel.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
To me, if we zoom out a little bit and don't think about it so specifically to these different types of situations, I come back to what Duke Ellington said, which is, if it sounds good and it feels good, it's good.
And think about what Stevie D.
What you
What'd you
just
say, Rick? Sorry.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. If it sounds
yeah.
good and feels good.
Okay. So then
Well-
if we all agree on that, and I think pretty
Uh-huh.
much that's a universal easy thing to everyone to agree with. The overplayers and the underplayers, they all say if it sounds good and feels good, it's good. But then, you know, the devil is in the details, right? Like for drummer A, to me, I'm drummer A, it sounds good and feels good when I go, and for drummer B, it sounds good when it goes, right? And then it's an opinion. And you
Right.
can say, oh, but it's totally subjective then. But I don't think it's totally subjective. I think there's something that if you pay attention to the music, you will come away, you know, we may not all make the same decision about what to play, but we'll make similar enough decisions, right?
I agree with you.
Well,
I
back
think
to sensibilities.
there's a line there that where you're serving the groove, you're propelling the band, you're locking in with the bass player, or you're smothering it.
Right.
Oh,
think there's
well
a
said,
line.
Chip. Yeah.
Chip, Rick, play that clip, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
play the clip. Play the clip.
All right. So the song is Dream On by Aerosmith, which we would probably say that's a rock and roll ballad.
It's a ballad.
It's a ballad.
It's a ballad. And so this is a 28-second clip. And mind you, the audience loved this band, and I think they really like the drummer too.
Well, how do you know that?
Booked, they said we are booked through 2027 every 6 weeks to return to this venue. So obviously they're doing their job. So all right, let me play this. Hopefully the audio will
Rick,
be
what was your indication that the audience loved the drummer or liked the drummer?
There was so much alcohol being sold, I couldn't believe it.
That's not. Don't blame the drummer for that.
Exactly.
That's not the drummer's fault.
That's right.
People were having a hoot of a time. They were going crazy. The venue was packed. People were like standing up front. They're waving their arms. I mean,
The drunker you are, the better he sounds.
Yeah, but
that might be the factor.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You haven't answered the question. How do you know the audience liked the drummer?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Here's my point.
I don't know specifically. It's that they like the whole band. I just felt like the audience was receptive of the band as a collective.
Sure. Fair enough.
So as a collective, and this is true, the band might have been like loving the singer, but not liking the drummer, but just the singer was good enough for them that they were going wild.
Right.
The band got the job done, and he's one of the members, so I have to give him at least 25% of the credit.
I don't know about that, but anyways, let's hear your clip.
Yeah, play the clip. Play the clip.
All right. Here you go. It's just audio. Yeah.
I mean, for starters, I don't know. He sped up when he went into that double bass thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about with the guy that played double bass in the old time rock and roll. Same thing. He sped up. That's why I pushed it.
That's
same
the first
thing.
Offense. The first offense is like the time is not good.
Yeah.
Right.
The second offense, which even if the time was perfect, is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's what I said as a joke before the show. It sounded like Tommy Aldridge playing drums for Aerosmith. And I love Tommy Aldridge and I love Aerosmith. Chip is dying to say something.
What do you got?
Party foul, 15 yards on the drummer for speeding up. Double foul for playing Pantera bass drum style during a rock ballad.
Right. So this comes back to just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
I think in that case that was overplaying, and it was definitely too much, in my opinion.
And I would agree with that.
I would agree with that too.
So I always come back to, like, when I'm working with students, I'm playing along with songs. Like, what do you think? What, to your best estimation, what is the song asking you to do?
Right.
Right. And how do you figure that out? Like, well, you start by listening, like drilling down on parts, like what's going on the bass guitar. That's a really good place to start, right?
Yes.
What's happening energetically in the song at this moment? You know, are you trying to? Are there 16th notes? Is there syncopation in the other parts of the song? Is the guitar part playing syncopated 16ths in the bass? Okay, well then you're going to meet that with a similar syncopated level of stuff, right? If it's all eighth notes, dun 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 dun, dun, and you start playing all 16th notes all over the place, it's going to feel like there's not this connect, right?
That's a novel concept. What is the rest of the band doing?
Right, and
what a great concept.
Here's the band. You have to play together. And two things that I want to say. First of all, this is a fantastic book to start with right here. Tommy Igoe's Groove Essentials. And what he talks about in this book, right? He says, I wrote the book vague on purpose because, if you read the captions in there and the stuff he talks about, it's like I wrote it vague on purpose because it's kind of up to the drummer to come up with a part that works with the other musicians. You're creating that bedrock for the other musicians. This is a great play along book, fantastic play along book for young drummers to kind of start with. And the second you play something incorrect with one of those songs, bingo, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It just does not fit. When we did Deck Day a few weeks ago, and Chip sat in with the band and I sat in with the band, and when I played Soul Shine, which I play all the time, but I kind of morphed it to, okay, this is what the band's doing, and I played with the band. And then we went into the second song. I can't even remember what was the second song that I played. Jeremy, do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I know I'd never played it. And the piano player started, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to play a second song. So I started listening to the piano player, and I listened to the bass player. I came in, I played along. I'm playing, I'm looking at the piano player, he's smiling, I'm looking at the bass player, she's grooving, I'm looking at Jeremy, he's not going like this. So I'm like, okay, I'm in the ballpark.
I was vomiting into a paper.
Is that what it was? I thought you were drinking buttermilk. But you use those things. And maybe, Rick, maybe that's what this guy was using. Maybe this guy was using all the people down front going, yeah, to go, yeah, this is, I'm impressing the hell out of everybody.
I would have to say, he's playing in a bar band, outdoor tiki bar kind of thing. The band is really, really booked. He's doing his thing. Good for him. But you have to look at what the goal is in your life, and
maybe that is his goal. Maybe maybe he's not aiming any higher, which is fine. There's fine.
It's totally cool. It's totally cool. And I respect him. And hey, man, look at those chops aren't easy to pull off, even though his tempo wasn't there. So there it is. But if you have to look at it and say, well, what is the difference between an amateur and a professional drummer? And if you want to grow and get at a higher level, then you really need to take a good, serious look. And then you say, well, some of these drummers are super busy.
I don't think it sounded good. I don't think it felt good. I don't think it was good.
I agree with you, and I don't
agree.
think it matters what level you're at. I don't think it matters whether your aspirations are amateur or professional or bar band or arena tour. Like either way, the job's the same. You're just trying to make the music sound good and feel good, right?
Right.
And like we are all in unanimous agreement that didn't sound good and feel good.
Absolutely. Right. That's why I had to bring it to you guys' attention.
Yeah.
And
well, that's a good case of winning too much.
How he's playing Hot for Teacher to a rock ballad.
Yeah. I mean, there could be examples of songs where we heard that we all had a slightly different take, or like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done this a little different, but we can all agree that it fits the song. Right.
Yeah.
That's sort of a moment where your awareness, your focus is taken out of the song onto the drum part for its own sake. And it's not serving the music, right?
Again, you hit the nail on the head, Jeremy. I have to say this. A minute ago, we were talking about something and you said, well, at that point, it's an opinion. Okay. on whatever the point was, the right part or the wrong part. Chip plays a part, I play a part. They're both different. It's an opinion which one is, because it worked for both of us. All of our opinion is that didn't work. And so because of that, I think that it obviously didn't work. I don't know. I don't know of a drummer that would hear that and not have gone, ugh. Or I don't know of one drummer that go, boy, that was great. That was fantastic. Way to go, dude. Everybody I know that I can think of that would hear that would go, not happening. Don't do that.
Well, the thing that gets interesting for us now to look at is our students.
Mhm.
And they're sitting there and they're saying, well, what drummers do you like? And they say, well, I like Gene Hoglan of Death and Death Clock and all that. Well, he's an extreme metal drummer. He plays really busy. I like Buddy Rich. Look at how many notes Buddy Rich played.
Okay.
Right? There are so many people. Keith Moon had this kind of, well, that's subjective too, this ability to play really, really fast and full. And it was interesting. And I think some of it is dynamics. That's a big part of what I think.
But look, none of this that we're talking about today has precluded the idea that complexity is bad by itself for its own.
Correct.
Right? It's all about context. And you played us that thing, and there was that crazy double bass thing in the context of Dream On, right? If you're hearing Garibaldi play a Tower Power groove with that crazy intricate linear funk thing he does, that's badass, right? And it sounds amazing. And Keith Moon,
well, it's in time.
Well, there's that too.
I mean, that's we're
time schmime.
We're talking about overplaying. When is it too much? Well, here's a good example of when it's too much. When the time's off.
Yeah,
well, that's true.
Yep.
I mean, Steve Gadd famously said, someone asked him, like, when you go at one of those clinics he gave, someone asked him, you're like the most recorded drummer of the 20th century. Like, what's your approach when you go into the recording studio with all these different famous artists? And he said, well, first I try to listen to the song and suss out what it's about, get the vibe of it. And then basically I try to play as simply as I can, because I find that the simpler I play, the easier it is to stay in the pocket. Oh, kaboom. Like, here's the top dude in the world telling us that that's his approach. Like, it's kind of hard to argue. Now, that said, we have all heard Steve Gadd do some cool stuff, like intricate, complex.
Very much so.
Right.
Agree.
And it's all a matter of taste. Like, when is complex good? When is complex bad? Think of it like a wine. I mean, I'm not a huge wine guy or anything, but there's some wines that are like super complex and they go with complex meals or whatever, and the sommeliers match the wine to the food, and you don't have it doesn't work to match the wrong wine to the wrong food if you know what you're doing, because it messes up the taste buds or whatever. So it's kind of like that. Like, we can listen to songs that are all kinds of syncopated, and Frank Zappa comes to mind, Tower of Power, Rush. Yeah, right. I mean, there's all great examples where complexity is just what the doctor ordered. And if you played those songs with these really simple parts, you're not doing your job, right? That's the same thing. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't feel good when you don't play complex enough in those situations, right?
There's a video of when Rush got inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they got inducted in the same year, and I'm just really talking out of my butt here. There was a blues guy that got inducted, and I don't know who it was. I cannot for the life of me right now pull it out of my head. But it was, if one of you guys want to look it up, that would, Chip, maybe you could look it up. And at the end of at the end of the ceremony, Rush played with this blues dude and played their tune. And here's Rush, arguably the greatest prog rock band of all times, the best in the world at what they.
Albert King.
Okay, they're playing an Albert King song, and dude, it did not sound like Rush playing blue. It sounded like a blues band. They played for the song, and we're talking Alex Lifeson, Geddy Lee, and Neil Peart. Did I say it right, Chip?
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
So those guys are all pros, and they have a huge, they've got that vast knowledge of music and stuff they've listened to, and they know what works with what.
Right.
But
Right.
and that's one of the things that separates the really good players from maybe the people who make these bad choices is, you know, understanding what makes the music sound good. This is why producers are hired, you know.
Right. Exactly.
You got to work
That-
together.
You know who really in my opinion, made the music sound good, but was very busy at times, was Stuart Copeland. He seemed to make some really great choices at just the right time in the song.
Very much
Agreed.
so.
Kurt Copeland laid down his tracks on all of those albums, and then of course, so everybody's trying to cover them and do exactly what Stuart did on those particular takes. And then if you listen to any live, I've seen Police like
Totally
4 times.
different.
Like
They do it different live, yeah.
yeah, he does completely different live and
Right.
back to interactive, because I'm sure Andy Sumner and Sting played it differently too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and he had this jazzy approach to what he was doing, and it was improvised. It wasn't like,
and it was a 3-piece, which is a way different mechanic than a 4-piece,
right. or a larger, right.
Different
Agree.
game.
That's a great example, Chip. Yeah. So just for the record, you know, I think we're all agreeing on this. For you listeners, we're not saying complexity is bad. It's neither simplicity and complexity. That whole range, there's no value judgment about one being good and one being bad.
Correct.
It's just a matter of what it does for the music that it's played in.
Right. Put yourself. What about this situation?
You have to be you. I want to point this out, that a drummer, if you're a busy drummer, you know, maybe that guy we were listening to, like at his core, maybe he should be playing in a metal band, you know, and or that would be a better fit, you know. If you hate simple music, then maybe you shouldn't be playing simple music. Like,
Well,
that's what you love.
And you can make the argument that Keith Moon was not going to play like what he was, who he was, and right, crazy,
Right,
out of control, and it worked great with the Who, which was this rebellious, heavy, you know, rock and roll, stick it to the man band at the time, and it worked. It was amazing. It was like edgy. He was barely in control, right? And so was that music. It had this like real intensity, and probably, you know. There's a reason he found Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey and those guys, and they found him, and he's not going to maybe be the drummer successfully in a different kind of band.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they put Kenny Jones in, and there's a lot of interviews where they said, well, Kenny Jones is this most outstanding drummer, but perhaps he wasn't the right replacement for Keith Moon.
Right.
I got to see the Who with Kenny Jones when I was younger. It just
isn't Zach Starkey playing with them now?
Yeah, he was. Anyways, I don't know if he still is. Ringo.
Say that again. What you asked, Chip?
Ringo's son Zach Starkey was playing with the Who at one time, I think.
I think he still is. I think that's his
cool
gig.
Symbols with the colors on them.
Yeah. The bullseyes. Yeah. You know, I think that okay, let's put yourself in this situation. You know, Rick's watching this band play, and we've mentioned this name a couple of times. David Garibaldi happens to be in the audience, and somebody says, "Oh my God, that's David Garibaldi." David, would you like to sit in and play with us? We don't know any Tower of Power, but you might know one of our songs. And he walks up and he goes, "Oh yeah, I can play Dream On by Aerosmith. I love Aerosmith." And he gets behind the drums. What's he going to do?
He's going to play Aerosmith.
He's going to sound amazing. He's going to sound amazing, and he's not going to go all Tower of Power on it.
He's not going to choke the song out.
Exactly. Back to what we said a minute ago about Albert King with Rush and the you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. They played the song. They played for the song. They didn't play, "Hey, we're Rush, and now we're going to play this 12/8 thing in, you know, 13." And you know what I mean? That's not. They did the job.
Right. And you know what? And finding those fewer notes is such a high level skill. That's what you were so realize that it's complex to play easy, because all of your notes are exposed. You're naked out there when you're not like filling it all in.
Right.
And so that is, I think that's a bigger talent than just this physical, my legs are strong, I'm throwing in all these fast double kicks and fancy riffs.
Yes. Good, really excellent point, Rick. When you're playing really simply, everything you do, every little change is exposed and has an impact on the music. The more complex you play, the more you can get away with.
Right.
The more complex the song or whatever. I want to tell just a really quick story. I have a student who was supposed to come to deck day, but he ended up getting sick that morning. So
I remember that.
Mickey, he's great, really great drummer.
Well,
And
let's come up and do deck day again then.
yeah,
I
want to talk about you in the next deck day. That's a topic for discussion in our next meeting. Anyways, Mickey, I taught him when he was like 13 to 17, and he was like bouncing off the walls kid, whatever, sort of fairly typical in some ways. And then he came back to me in his early 30s and said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I took lessons with you when I was a teenager." I'm like, "Yeah, of course I remember you." And he said, "Well, I've been playing kind of on and off, and I want to get back into it." And he's been taking lessons now for maybe 3 years, and he has grown enormously in those 3 years. And one of the biggest ways, he's already very technically competent, but he would come in and he'd play these tunes and he'd overplay them like crazy. That was what, like when he first came back, he was like, every fill had rolls in it. Right.
How'd that go? I use that one. Yeah, I know that one.
Diddle diddle in it.
If you put a part of diddle diddle in it, it'd be perfect.
Slam a bar to diddle. Yep.
Slam a bar to diddle.
Or a chip chop.
A chip chop.
Chip chop in there.
Anyway, so he's playing these tunes, and he's not, his time is good, and he's not sounding terrible or anything, but he's just playing too much. And I said to him, I think you've got these habits, right? These sort of default things that you do that this is the way you play the drums, the way you hear things in your head. Mm-hmm. And you're not paying as much attention to the song and maybe what the song is asking for you in this moment. And that's sort of been a theme of our lessons and of the songs he's worked on over the last 3 years. And man, he sounds like a professional now. I mean, he sounds so good. And I think anybody who listened to him 3 years ago and today would agree this is a better drummer. And it's not because he's so much technically better. It's that he makes better choices because he's more sensitive, right?
Yep. I think the other thing that we can throw in there, because of what you said as far as like, you have habits. I also talk to my students about this, and that is that I call it the tempo trap, right? That every time you sit down to play, it doesn't matter what you play, it's at the same tempo, right? You can be playing Hot for Teacher, or you can be playing Dream On, and it's the same tempo because that's where you feel good. Yeah. This is just, and it could be 80 beats a minute. I just feel good at 80 beats a minute. I feel good at 120, whatever. Yes. And I would caution drummers not only to play the right part, but really get the right tempos. And when I say that, I am not pointing a finger at one drummer, because I got 3 pointing back at me. I think we all have that, and that's why I play to a click live. My time is good, but on any given night, and I think you guys will agree with this, you got a night where, the other night we played Lincoln Amphitheater. There's a gazillion people screaming, going nuts. It's a big rock star moment. And so your adrenaline's up here, and you've got to kind of have that, okay, this song is not here, it's here. Right. And then on the same end of the stick, you could feeling poorly one night, and it's like, man, why are all these songs so fast? No, I'm looking at the click. I'm where I'm supposed to be. You feel time differently from day to day. So I think, and then also we have that place where we like to sit. I like to sit and play here at this tempo. So challenge yourself with the metronome, whether you play to it all night long or just check yourself against it every once in a while. Make sure your tempos are there too, because, and if you are going to put in some double bass during Dream On, which I strongly disagree with because Chip will smack you down, make sure you keep your time together, because that happened on the old time rock and roll thing. That was the first thing everybody noticed, was the guys who doom doom dun digga digga dun digga digga dun digga digga dun, and he's taking off to the races. Don't hold on to your time. Whatever you're gonna do, make sure your time's there too.
Yeah,
right on.
Bart, don't you have a commercial break to make?
We have a commercial break to make, and I don't have anything open, but what I am going to say right here, right now is this. Please check out Centerstream Publishing. While I'm talking, I'm going to look and see if I can find it open. I totally forgot to open this before the show. We have a fantastic sponsor on the show, which is Centerstream Publishing. I've been with Centerstream Publishing for a number of years. I have numerous things. I can't find it. I have numerous things published on Centerstream Publishing. I have two real books published as far as instructional books, Rock and Pop and Snare Drum, School of Hard Rocks. I have a thing called the Drummer Survival Guide, kind of a fill in the blank thing. I have a snare drum rudiment thing called ASAP Drums, which is the original 26 rudiments. And then my new book, the hard copy version of it, The Rhythmic Journey, is on Centerstream Publishing. If you're a drummer, if you play the kazoo, if you play banjo, if you play guitar, they have everything. And it's really, really, really good stuff. The guy that owns it, his name is Ron Middlebrook. Ron is a stellar guy and a sweetheart of a dude, and they've got everything. So check out Centerstream Publishing, and I apologize for not having the insert ready to show today, but you can look.
There's
at
a link in the comments at centerstream-usa.com.
There you go, and they've got everything. So a lot of guys that watch it, they have a lot of percussion stuff, some good conga stuff, bongo stuff, all kinds of stuff. So you multi-instrumentalists, go check it out. You will like Centerstream Publishing. I promise you. Thank you, Jeremy, for doing that. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Hey guys, Fred Fisher said that dude who overplayed on Dream On is lacking self-awareness and discipline.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yep.
I agree with that. Discipline is a big one because we have to have discipline to practice and get better. But we have to have discipline to play the right part, because it's really easy to want to overplay.
That's right. And think of this. Consider this. We practice all this stuff to gain all this vocabulary, to develop all these chops, let's say. And then much of the time that we play, we're not utilizing a lot of that stuff that we've developed. Right. And it seems maybe a little bit incongruous at times, but and so it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking you should play more. I lost my train.
Well, no, you are right, Jeremy, and it's
wait.
Okay, go ahead.
I got it again. Instincts. So this is what I was working on with Mickey. It was like helping him develop his instincts. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that he couldn't play the parts well. It was that his instincts pushed him to play or compelled him to play too much.
Yeah.
Right. And then when he sort of started refining his instincts by paying more attention to the music, his instincts got better and his playing got better.
And he was probably a lot better at letting the song inform him on where to go.
Exactly.
Right. And we can even take it to another extreme. I mean, we're talking to some poor guy in Florida that, thought he was kicking ass and played double bass, and we're disagreeing with what he did.
Right.
And this isn't to throw anybody under the bus. Nobody knows who that drummer was, or the name of the band, or even the club you're at. It's, there could have been a million guys that had done that. But let's say you put yourself in this situation, and this is the exact opposite in the coin, and we're talking about chops here. He was using double bass chops. You're not going to play Dream On and okay, I'm going to go into Paradiddle Johnny in the center part of the song, right? To a rudimental solo. Why would you, those worlds don't, arguably you could play Dream On and use it as a metronome and play Paradiddle Johnny. Is it going to work? Hell no, it's not going to work.
There's a time and a place for everything. I'm not going to do the stick juggling during a slow 6/8 ballad.
Right. And one of the things that you said, Chip, that I think is important with 6/8. What's 6/8? What 6/8? What you said this numerous times, and I applaud you for this, because you're famous for being the stick juggling guy. You're so good at it. But you don't even teach that. That's not, you teach how to play the drums, and what the importance of it. The stick juggling is the sprinkles on top of your icing. You know what I mean? It's a time and a place.
When you guys came to hear my band and sit in with my band at one of my bands at the Fourth Bore, you heard a pretty wide range of tunes, and there were some tunes where I was just chopping wood, and then there's some tunes where I was going nuts, right? Yep. On that New Orleans second line stuff with the really snare drum. It's like, wow, but again, to me, that's like, even within the same band, there's can be a range of complexity, and it depends on the tunes.
Right.
Yeah, Jeremy's left hand left its parents on Krypton.
Ah! Oh, that's
Oh my God,
What
that
are
was
you
awesome.
talking about?
I wasn't expecting that one, man. Man, that was funny.
Oh, that's excellent. All right. Well, it is time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in,
On that note,
being a part of this is a fun show. I really,
yeah, this was a great show.
times.
yeah.
Everybody-
there's more to discuss. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Real quick, check out the Rolling Stone article that I put on Drummers Education Connection about our friend Stevie D, who I was going to bring him up in today's show because he had some really relevant points when he played with David Gilmour about playing the parts and everything like that. Maybe that's another show for another time. Texted him yesterday. We're going to try to get him back on the show to talk about this great Rolling Stone article. So I want to give a little bit of love to Stevie. He's a great guy, amazing human being, and phenomenal drummer. Check out the article, please. It's a great article. Great article.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Go, Rick. Go.
You're hired.